Hi, my name is Ben Дай, and I am the director for Honor and Glory. So the story is pretty much inspired by the game level Iconval. There's a suit of armor, a crusader armor that's sitting in the throne room at the very end of the level, and there's the beautiful story behind that. It's a story about a mentor, Baldric, and his apprentice, Reinhardt. The coin has a significance because that's what Overwatch would send out. It's kind of like the Willy Wonka chocolate factory, the golden ticket. Overwatch will send these coins out as a symbol of please join us.
So, that's it. You're leaving us.
I have been called.
The idea was Baldric was the original pick because he's a wiser, much more experienced fighter, and we wanted to create the situation where Reinhardt's a little bit jealous. He's not going to go in and openly say that he is jealous, but he felt like he should be the one who got picked. But we also want to try to establish this relationship of mentor and apprentice, and they're good friends. Even though Reinhardt, in the backstory, the Reinhardt is the brash, young soldier, Baldric is the more experienced and level-headed commander. Baldric always have a soft spot for Reinhardt because, he treat him like either a brother or a son.
Drop huts to the east, they're coming!
And in the bar, we're pretty much taking everything from the game level one-to-one. We had to take out a few items on the table and then whatnot, but we pretty much stick with what the game level.
Live with honor.
Time is glory!
So when we were animating these battlefield, I always had this idea of making everything feels very realistic. There's a challenge behind that because we have we already established this sort of Overwatch style. It's very stylized, muzzle flashes, tracers, and explosions. So it's a challenge to try to incorporate what the game did and also what we will try to create in this short, which is almost like the horror of the war and what the devastation it brings. This is the first time we introduce OR-14 in the short. They are, in the lore, they are another unit from the Omnic Crisis. In our shorts, we make them just a little bit more meaner. They're like the counter for the Crusader on the Omnic side. And that's why we see that Reinhardt and Baldric is having such a hard time dealing with these guys.
Reinhardt!
It's based on Orisa. It's actually a previous model. Originally, we were just going to take the game skin one-to-one, try to stick with our model of, don't change any game stuff. But Arno, the associate art director for the game, actually made a point for us to change the way the OR-14 gun fires. Orisa actually has a very different cadence of firing, so Arno really want us to change that so it's ballistic and also feels like it's an older model.
I had this.
Obviously.
Throughout this whole battlefield, there's just tons of effects. The effects department really did an awesome job of recreating this battlefield, the look and the feel, the explosions, and basically we're putting everything, including the kitchen sink, in this short.
That door won't hold.
We struggled a bit on this sequence because the rating, we can't show blood and gore, but we gotta show that Baldric is hurt and he's hurt bad. So we came up with a solution of putting just a little bit of smoke on his wound. But when we were watching the final mix or final picture, it's just not enough. So I think the picture was due like in 2 or 3 days. And then I went and asked the FX supervisor, can we add something else on top of this? And being the awesome team, the FX team are, they say, sure, let's try something. And then they did a couple of versions of the drips. And then I think it adds a lot to making sure that the audience recognize the Baldric was hurt, but without being too gross and showing blood squirting or something like that.
Reinhardt, live with honor.
The moment where they make their exchange of the hammer came pretty early on during a writer's room. Back then, we had this whole moment where Reinhardt had 2 hammers. At one point, Reinhardt had a 2-hammer. He never used a shield. and Baldric actually took off his shield and gave it to him, and they do this weapon exchange. But I felt like it was a double beat because Baldric has to give Reinhardt his Overwatch coin, and then it turned into this whole like, hey, take my coin, take my weapon, take my shield. So we simplified that. So Reinhardt actually gave up his only hammer to Baldric, so that in a way it symbolized that he gave up his old way, and then now he's taking on the new role as a protector, and then showing him coming out of the wall, rescuing the two soldiers that he was making fun of earlier, which is a nice contrast. The slow motion shot, it's difficult to do every time we go into slow motion. The way we approach it here is actually animated slow. In past cases, sometimes we actually animate it real time, and then we slow it down to like 60 frames per second or whatnot. This time we just decided to let's animate this thing as if it's just slow motion. It creates a lot more work, but I think the effects, it was pretty cool. I knew I want this moment to be really dramatic and make people really feel the situation's dire, and then we see the change Reinhardt has gone through and become. So this is the final shot. We literally take the game asset and then we put our character in it, making sure that the character is exactly on the same spot. This moment when the transition from the past to the present, it was a crossfade, and at one point, me and my editor Jake Patton was like, "Hey, let's try something. Why don't we try to do a straight cut?" And with the right sound effects, I think it creates a better impact.
I must answer. Always.
So that's it, guys. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the short film.